Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. We're here today with Gary Zed, the founder of Canada's Forest Trust. Gary, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Todd.
Well, today we're going to learn about the trust and how car dealers, OEMs, and car buyers are getting involved. So for Gary, for many of our dealers, this will be the first time they hear about Canada's Forest Trust. So tell us a bit about it. Tell us about your background and really why you got involved.
So, Todd, you'll be surprised to know this. I'm a tax lawyer by trade, but I love fly fishing, and I saw firsthand over the years about the impact of climate change on the fishing camps and on the erosion and on the impact it's having across the country. So, that was really my basis for getting involved in climate change. And so we established Canada's Forest Trust Corporation. And what we've really done is we've really created a unique product for every industry in the country. And no surprise, we have something particular for the auto sector and for dealerships where we can bring climate action and climate change to life. And we do it through what we call smart forests. We build forests. So you can imagine a world where every dealer in Canada has their own unique forest. And you can imagine a world where that dealership now can see real time what's happening with respect to their forest in terms of the trees that have been planted, the carbon that's being absorbed, the educational sites, the biodiversity, and all the storytelling that comes with it. And so that's what essentially we've done. We've connected the dealerships to nature real time because we know it's important. We know that their consumers care about it. We know their employees care about it. And we know the community cares about it at large.
Okay, well, so tell us more specifically for a dealer, sort of, what are some of the nuts and bolts of the program, how they get involved? I understand it can be customized for different dealerships, but if you were to sit down with a dealer and say, hey, if you get involved, here's what you can look at, here's how we market, here's how we sell the program, that sort of stuff. What would you say to the dealers on if you will, the mechanics of it?
Yeah, so I always say it begins with a conversation first and foremost, because we like to really understand what the priorities are of the dealership and how they look at this particular product, which we call Climate Protection Plus, how they integrate that within their organization. Um, what we've learned to date is that Climate Protection Plus gets incorporated into the F&I office. It's an offering that will be either sold or given away by the dealership to encourage their customers to look at climate action and take climate action with respect to the purchase of their car or with respect to a point of sale transaction in the dealership. It doesn't always have to be at the car sale. It can also be at service. And then what happens is that the program is brought on board before the customer leaves the dealership. They're onboarded into a Canada's Forest Trust platform, which showcases the trees that have been planted for them. It shows them where the forest is, how many trees have been planted, how much carbon has been absorbed. There's an educational site for not just the consumer, but frankly, a lot of the consumers have young children who are very concerned about climate change, and it allows them to share that and communicate what's going on around climate change with their family as well, because we know it's an important conversation. We know that 2/3 of drivers are sustainably minded drivers, and we know that 76% of youth are dealing with climate anxiety. And so it's something that's very, very important to bring to the top of mind for not just the dealers, but their consumers at the same time.
Okay, so for the car dealership, it becomes if you will, a product offered in the F&I office. There's obviously some margin on that for them, but for the consumer side of it, they can get this app, as you mentioned, they can chart, the forest and what's happening. So once they sign on for this program, then it becomes there's some interactive tools, with technology being what it is for them to actually see the benefit. It doesn't just sort of go into this invisible world. They can actually see the impact of that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Before they leave the dealership, they will be welcomed into the portal, the Canada's Forest Trust portal, where they'll see where their forest is. They'll be able to get engagement in terms of even what I call forest casting, Todd. Imagine moving the ruler along and saying, what will my forest look like in 5 years or 10 years? Or perhaps they want to learn more about the environment and get education on it. There's a separate section just on dealing with education, not just around forestry. It could be on heat waves or volcanoes or floods or fires. It's all about really bringing nature to the forefront for families and the consumers who are really focused on that today. Given what we see every day around us in terms of, particularly in Canada, the forest fires.
And just like, where are these forests in Canada? I guess you acquire land, where this reforestation is needed, is that sort of thing. So you can show them sort of even on a map where their smart forest is going to be.
Yeah, we're really excited about the land bank that we've created. So we have a 6P approach to our business, 6 phases. So we procure land, we acquire land across the country, or we'll also work with Indigenous communities or forest families after we acquire the land. Then we'll go through a preparation process. Then we'll plant the trees. But most importantly, Todd, what we do is we preserve, protect, and then we celebrate that. We promote that with the dealerships and with the consumers so they understand all the amazing impact that the forest is having. And we promote all that through the portals and the dashboards that we create for the consumers. We've created national partnerships across the country with some of the leading data companies, so you'll know exactly what's going on in your forest. National partnerships with the largest Canadian seedling companies, the largest Canadian planting companies, and we're also working very closely with the Indigenous communities to really bring our whole story together as a really important Canadian-made and Canadian-told story.
Okay, and you've worked with some dealers and dealer groups so far. You've signed some up part of the program. So tell us about the feedback. How do they like it? What's the impact been even on their own teams and their communities to get involved in something like this?
So not a surprise, we found that every dealer group that we speak to, whether it's an individual dealership or a large dealer group, there's a different conversation. And that's why I always begin with this discovery session, discussing with the dealership the importance of the different relationships they have in their ecosystem. And what I've learned is that the dealer wants a relationship with its consumer. They want a relationship with their employees, and they want a relationship with the community. And all that really ties into what's their goal. Do they want to have a strategy around customer attraction, attracting more eco-conscious customers? Do they want to focus on employee engagement? And you may say, why employee engagement? An interesting fact that 1 out of 3 employees expect their employer to have a climate action plan, and 70% of employees want to work for sustainably minded employers. And so dealers are smart. They're smart business people. They understand the importance of their team and their people and their culture in terms of their organization. So having a strategy around how do they bring climate action to life for their employees is just as important as bringing climate action to life for their consumers who are buying the cars. And then it's all about their brand. In other words, how do they engage within the community and demonstrate to the community that they're an eco-conscious brand. They care about climate, they care about nature, because we know that consumers are attracted today. Consumers are attracted to brands that care about the environment. And more importantly, if you're not sustainably minded as a business or as an organization, consumers will actually turn away from those brands and organizations. And so we've now looked at it through the lens of those 3 different groups and developed the products and services for climate protection for the consumer buying the car, climate benefits for employees, and climate culture for how you connect with the community. And so far, it's been working really well. It's about having scalable, practical solutions that the dealer can look to his team and say, what are the right combination of products and services we want to bring our climate action to life in our organization?
Well, it's interesting because there's no question that, a vehicle purchase, whether it's an ICE or EV or plug-in or some measure, there's, an environmental impact of our transportation and mobility needs. So in a way, this is a way for people to offset some of that, or at least to make a contribution back. People still need to move around, and these vehicles, they do have an impact on the environment. So if any car dealers are in our audience are interested, where do they learn more? Who do they contact? How do they sign up? Just tell us a little bit about where they go for more information.
So they can go to, www.canadasforesttrust.ca. We have all the products and services on board. They can obviously reach out to me directly. The team literally in 15 to 30 minutes can sit down with the dealer, discuss their priorities to become, climate-minded, climate-sensitive dealers. And frankly, within about a week, we can bring an entire program together in a very cost-effective way for the dealer group to bring that to life within the community and within their organization. And we don't just, we really walk the talk because we want obviously the organization to look good, but we also want them to do good. So when they sign on and we roll out the climate action programs for them, it's completely turnkey, very easy to administer. We take care of building the platform, getting their dashboard up and running, which is unique to them, providing them with all the marketing and social and digital materials, videos for their dashboards, and all the brochures and banners that they may want within their dealerships to really promote and celebrate all the good work that they're doing.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time today to talk about this. I've done lots of interviews in my time, everything to do with the automotive. I can honestly say we've never done anything on planting trees and smart forests, and certainly adapting the technology, as an offset. So I appreciate you sharing this with dealers, and hopefully there's some in the audience that it resonates with, and they'll reach out and start to make an impact in their communities. So thanks for your time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me on board today.